Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm in this weird place with my channel right now because I mostly, not always, mostly listen to older music. Older rock, obviously. A lot of stuff on my channel is about classic rock artists. I'm talking about albums by bands that are either dead, no longer together, or are just like insanely old. And while I like talking about that kind of stuff, because I like to think of myself as like not an actual rock historian, but that's what I always aspired to be. And it's fun talking about all the old bands, but after a while it gets to the point where it's like, how much can I talk about this stuff when I'm basically repeating myself? It's all stuff from the past, it's all really old, and I feel like it's kind of more engaging for me to talk about newer things that are going on because there's more updates more frequently. So I talk about the classic rock things when they seem relevant, but other than that, I've been trying to get more involved in the modern rock and the metal scene a little bit more so that I would have more content to make videos about, because like I said, once I run out of the old things to talk about, what am I going to talk about? And I've gotten some requests from some people that they want to hear more classic rock stuff being done, because lately I've been doing a lot more modern rock coverage because, over the past few months is when the festivals were happening and everything. And now it's summer and there's albums being dropped everywhere. So I've been just trying to submerge myself in the newer scene just so that I would have more content to create. This video is mainly like focusing on why I'm more into classic rock and more into older music than I am today. So the problem, and the title of this video is a condensed and more simplified version of what I'm actually trying to say, because I'm not going to make a horrendously long YouTube title. The title of the video is "What is my problem with modern rock?" When really what I'm trying to say is, what is it about modern rock that makes me like old rock more? I flip-flop all the time with what I feel like listening to. Sometimes I want to listen to The Doors, sometimes I just want to listen to Alice in Chains. It's a mood, it depends on what I'm feeling. The past, however long it's been since Rockin' the Range, I've been listening to a lot of the bands that were at Rockin' the Range, because that's kind of just what happens with me. When something is relevant and I see it live, I get kind of hooked on it and I play it a lot. So I've been blasting my Rockin' the Range playlist, which had a lot of Alice in Chains, Stone Sour, Stone Temple Pilots, Godsmack, Them Evils, New Year's Day, Red Sun Rising, all those bands. Because of the bands that I'm seeing and meeting at these festivals, I'm getting introduced to other new bands. And so that's kind of what's been going on for me. I've just been sort of trying to submerge myself in everything, still listening to the classics while trying to discover new stuff, especially so that I can share it with you guys. The thing is about modern rock and alternative and metal that makes me go back to The Doors and makes me go back to Soundgarden and all the older stuff is the overproduction. It's just not my thing. I'm just noticing that like a lot of these newer artists, because it's 2018 and technology is so readily available for us, they are using so much production in their songs. And whether it's a gimmick or whether it's just their style, that's fine. But it's not mine. It's not my cup of tea. And like they would need tracks and other machinery to make the same sounds when they perform live. A lot of it, the melody doesn't sound like it's being made by actual instruments. It just sounds like noise. Personally, what I like about the older sound better is that production was basically as simplified as it could possibly be. It was more just about making the music sound crisp and sound clear than it was creating sound effects and distortion and everything else that was being included. Everybody that you know that I listen to, for the most part, they sounded almost exactly like live on stage what they did in the studio, because they either recorded it live in the studio altogether to capture that sound as a group rather than separate entities, or they just, like I said, they kept the production as simple as possible and they made sure they went to the right people who weren't going to try to change the sound too much. I like it as raw as it can possibly be. I like it to sound like instruments solely. And that's just my style. So that is what I am not crazy about with a lot of bands today. Taylor Momsen said that on Going to Hell, they completely took out the production sound effects that they were using during Light Me Up, which was kind of a more pop rock oriented album, Going to Hell is completely stripped down. It's 2 guitars, bass, drums, and singing. She said in so many interviews that they did that solely so that they would sound more like what they sound like live on the record. Seether sound exactly like what they sound like in the studio. I actually think they sound better live. It's up to your own discretion about what you like. I can give you some suggestions for new bands to check out that have that classic rock sound. The Pretty Reckless. Their second album was a bit heavier to be considered classic, but Who You Selling For, I think, definitely has some elements where you can hear influences from the 60s and 70s, and then in the 90s, and there's also some funk and some other styles mixed in and southern rock. Dorothy. Fucking love 28 Days in the Valley. Greta Van Fleet. Them Evils are really good if you go and see them live. Their shows are just always packed with so much power and energy. They get in the crowd, they get really into it, they make you want to dance and crack open a bottle of whiskey and start chugging it. Joyous Wolf is actually another up-and-coming classic sounding rock band from Southern California. I think they're gonna go pretty far. They're doing something interesting. Nick Reese is a psycho on the stage. He does all these crazy flips and splits and everything. And they are currently in the studio in the production process of their first album. So that's definitely something to look forward to. And going off of that, a band that I was introduced to through Joyous Wolf because Nick Reese said something about them on stage at Rockville. There's a band called Of Limbo. They're also from Southern California. Do you see my problem? I'm on the complete opposite coast of the country, and all these good up-and-coming bands are coming out from that side. It's like the fucking 1980s over there with all the bands popping up everywhere, and I am not there. Going off of that, somebody actually reached out to me on Facebook talking negatively about a band that I have mentioned a couple times in some of my videos, and saying, if you want to grow, talk about the artists that are growing. So what I'm going to respond to that to you, so that anybody, thinks that the bands I just mentioned, if this is sponsored in any kind of way, absolutely not. I do not talk about bands in videos that I don't actually think have talent, that I don't actually think are going to go places, because I want good music to prosper. So when I suggest bands to you guys, it's because I actually like them. If I was going into the music industry solely to make a name for myself and have something happen for myself, I would not be in rock and roll. I'm in rock and roll because I love it. That's it.